Hello everyone, my name is Chris Claus. Today I will be going over a video made by Muhammad Hijab. This video is about Ben Shapiro. For those who may not know Ben, he is a person who normally speaks about politics, but he is an Orthodox Jew. So in this video we will see Ben making statistical assertions and Muhammad Hijab attempting to refute them. You will notice that he does not actually refute anything, but he does make himself look silly. Take a look.
Says
There's plenty of violent material in the Old and New Testaments. Hey, I'm an Orthodox Jew. I read the Old Testament a lot. But believers in those particular texts are not currently ramming airliners into towers or beheading journalists or mutilating female genitalia.
so. Why mention these examples? Is it because you're trying to otherize or associate Muslims with particular acts? It's clear here that those three examples are carefully chosen by yourself and actually, funny enough, not even generalizable to Muslims. Let's take your third example, for example. You talk about female genital mutilation. Well, there is no evidence whatsoever that only Muslim countries practice this act. For example, Ethiopia, East Africa, many of those populations are majority Christian populations, yet the act is very much, or the practice of female genital mutilation is very much rampant. In fact, one of the books I've written called Fifth Wave Feminism, I dedicate an entire chapter on these kinds of acts, practices, and how they're committed in the Western world. Like, for example, if you look at the WHO definition of what is in fact considered female genital mutilation, it would be things like labiaplasty. Why is that not considered? And by the way, labiaplasty and clitoridectomies, these kinds of things are done right here in the West, and they're done at an alarming rate, more so than probably any other place in the world. So why is that not referred to as female genital mutilation? And has that got anything to do with Muslims?
So this clip starts off with Ben admitting that there can be troubling verses in the Old Testament, but the people that prescribe to those religions are not out ramming planes into buildings, they're not beheading people, and they're not causing female genital mutilation. And did you notice that Muhammad Hijab does not respond to the first 2 points whatsoever? Because he knows that he cannot. It is what Islam teaches, and no one else around the world is doing this because that's what their religion teaches. It's only Islam. Did everyone also hear his definition on female genital mutilation? It was just disgusting, and there was no actual condemning of this act at all. He didn't even try to say that it is not taught in Islam, which should be very telling for a lot of people. He then likens it with things that people do with their own bodies because it is their own choice. Well, in Islam, people, you don't have that choice. It is forced upon you. And before I move on, I want to point out, and I just want everybody to keep watching in these clips, that not once does he ever deny these acts are being taught in Islam. Thank you.
Indonesia is the world's most populous Muslim country. It's got almost 205 million Muslims living there. And 70% blamed the United States, Israel, or somebody else for 9/11. So, you make that calculation, it's about 143 million people who are radicalized. You scared yet? We're just getting started.
So if it's true that someone who blames the US, Israel, or someone else for 9/11 is a radical, as you're alluding to here, or you're trying to suggest here, then all of those families whose family member was killed on 9/11, who are part of the truth movements in the United States and all those kind of things, are you willing to come out and say that they're radicals as well? Well, in fact, you'd have to do that. Come out and say that they are radicals. That those people in America, part of the truth movement, that they're all radicals, if that's what your definition is.
Now, this is one of the most dishonest clips you'll ever see. Here, Muhammad Hijab purposely separates 2 points that Ben is trying to make. What he does is he takes the one where people that don't accept that it was an Islamic state that caused September 11th, and he tries to apply this to the people that lost their family members during September 11th. And he tries to say that, oh, since these people are radical, then you must say that these other people are radical. The dishonest part here is that Ben Shapiro actually said that people that didn't believe that the Islamic State caused September 11th and the 80% of people that believe Sharia law should be imposed is what he was talking about when he equated them with being radical and or extremists. So it was very dishonest for Muhammad Hijab to separate those clips so that he could appeal to the people that had lost loved ones in September 11th. But notice, he hasn't denied anything yet.
Another 82% want Sharia to be the official law of the country. Okay, Egypt, 80 million Muslims. According to that same 2009 poll, it showed that 65% want strict Sharia law in every Islamic country.
The second aspect, strict support for Sharia law. So I want to know, what exactly about Sharia law do you think makes someone a radical? Because if you're saying Sharia law makes someone a radical, what exactly? Now, I am going to assume that you're going to say the punitive laws, because that's the most controversial aspect of Sharia law. Now, I want you to answer me a question. If people believe the punitive and penal laws of Islam, and that makes them a radical, then what do you say of Orthodox Jews who read Exodus chapter 20, who read Leviticus chapter 20, who read 1 Samuel 15:3, and you can check those references in your own time, in the book of Numbers chapter 30 verse 8, check those references in your own time. What about those individuals who believe in those things? They believe in the capital punishment for murder, for adultery, for... In fact, let me tell you, Ben. Let me tell you something, Ben. Listen to me and look at me. I'm willing to say that all of the punitive laws that are mentioned classically in the text, the primary text of Islam, and subsequently mentioned by medieval scholars, for example, in classical jurisprudential texts, that they're also mentioned more severely, yes, more severely in the halakhic texts of the Jewish Orthodox Jews. So can you now say that they are radicals? All of those Orthodox Jews who believe word for word, letter for letter, the biblical discourse as it relates to penal.
So yes, Sharia law would make someone an extremist for the simple fact that in an Islamic state with Sharia law, LGBTQ people would be killed. Atheists would be killed. Christians and Jews treated like slaves. So Ben is correct. When a country wants to impose Sharia law, that country is radical. Again, notice that Muhammad Hijab does not say anything about the misuse of Sharia law within the history of Islamic states.
Nigeria, 75.7 million Muslims live there. 71% favor Sharia law. That's 53.7 million people. Iran, 74.8 million Muslims. 83% favor implementation of Sharia law as of last year.
So this is what he does throughout the video. He looks at all the countries that believe in a strict, or the majority of population believe in a strict compliance to Sharia law, and he labels them as radical. But of course, he wouldn't have the same attitude to Orthodox Jews who believe in very similar things. So I want to know, first of all, who peer-reviewed your definition of radicalism? Who peer-reviewed it? Because when I was looking in the academic literature, I didn't find your pseudo definition of radicalism. It doesn't actually exist. Number two, why are you not applying the same standards on the Orthodox Jewish community, if that's what radicalism entails? So it seems like your presupposition is a false one, and therefore your understanding is a problematic one.
Bangladesh, and 2/3 said honor killings of women can sometimes be justified. Honor killings.
Now, I looked at Pew Research to see exactly what they're talking about, and what in fact they're talking about. In fact, let me give you one example. Indonesia says males it has an honor killing section, talks about the capital punishment for a certain crime. It says males, for example, 82% believed that they would be eligible for honor killings, and also 82% of females. So it's exactly.
So again, in this clip, Muhammad Hijab attempts to say that the Jews take the Old Testament laws as being applicable today and they act them out, which is completely ignorant of the actual situation. Orthodox Jews do not believe that their laws given to them in the Old Testament should be forced on humanity today, like Muslims believe about the Sharia law. So when Muhammad Hijab tries to equate some people in the Jewish nation that may have used a certain verse to justify a type of atrocity in our history, it doesn't equate to Muslims imposing Sharia law upon the people that they conquer. This type of equivocation would be called the fallacy of equivocation. Now, also near the end, he basically affirms honor killings and says that they're allowed in Islamic State. There was no actual refutation to anything. He's basically agreeing with it or saying, oh, well, you Jews do it too, so why do you complain about us Muslims doing it? Which isn't the case. Again, the Jewish nation does not want to impose their laws in the Old Testament upon the world. Islam does want to impose their Sharia law upon the world.
You only want to deal with college students, young ones, untrained ones, little ones, weak ones, in uneven situations and settings. It's because you're a pusillanimous. What did you say? I said you're a pusillanimous, timorous, pusillanimous, ultra-crepidarian, dilettante, and you don't want to face someone who can put you in your place. Yes, I challenge you. You pigeon-hearted, pusillanimous weasel. Academic weasel. Fraud. You're a fraud. You're a fraud. And I put you in your...
In this last clip, we heard Muhammad Hijab telling everybody that he is definitely more qualified than Ben Shapiro to speak about these topics. But let's just take a look at the facts and look at them logically, because as Ben said before, facts don't care about your feelings. So who is Muhammad Hijab and what has he done? So Muhammad Hijab is a debater and a public speaker who engages in discussions and polemics on a wide variety of topics, including religion and politics. Muhammad is currently doing further postgraduate research in Islamic studies at SOAS University of London. Now, Ben Shapiro. He is an American conservative political commentator, media host, and also an attorney. At age 17, he became the youngest nationally syndicated columnist in the United States. He writes columns for Creator Syndicate, Newsweek, AMI magazine, and serves as editor at the Daily Wire, which he founded, and also hosts the Ben Shapiro Show, a daily political podcast and a live radio show. In 2012 to 2016, he was an editor-at-large at the Breitbart News, and he's also written 11 books. The first book being Brainwashed, How Universities Indoctrinate America's Youth, back in 2004, and the latest being How to Destroy America in 3 Easy Steps. His schooling would include graduating high school at age 16, and then receiving a Bachelor of Arts degree, also a degree in political science, and a degree from Harvard Law School in 2007. So just listening to both of these men's credentials, it is laughable for Muhammad Hijab to assume that he is more qualified to speak on anything other than more than Ben Shapiro would be. Now, thank you very much, and if you'd enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and if you want to support the channel, my Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. God bless.